Welcome to part 2 of the Turbo breakdown video. I broke these down into 2 separate seasons because I think they are so drastically different that we really need to break them down into the 2 separate casts. Now, Turbo, of course, is pretty infamous because of the fact that it's the first time we had a really big flush out of the old cast and a whole new cast came in minus Justin. A lot of people have opinions on who was better, the original cast versus the new cast. I'll say if you haven't watched part 1, I highly encourage you to watch that first because there's a lot of production issues, different things going on at the time, actors that were wanting to leave and things like that that really caused some different issues with how the writers could do their job. I really think that the first half definitely needed a lot of improvement. I think that the new cast coming in for myself was definitely a breath of fresh air. Now, I refer to season 1 as the old cast, and season 1 had a big gap, of course, over the summer. We had Honey, I Shrunk the Rangers part 1, which ended in May, and then we had to wait all summer to see part 2, which aired on September 9th. On the 10th and 11th, we had the 2-part Passing the Torch episodes, and then on the 12th, we had the very first standalone Turbo episode with the new cast. Now, as a quick side note, at this time, when the new cast came in, this is the same point where Beetleborgs Metallics started. Beetleborgs, of course, was airing throughout the week, just like Power Rangers, because, in fact, it was actually higher in the ratings at the time. We also had, at this point, the start of Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation, but it only aired on Saturdays. Now, when you really think about it, this new cast was very, very short-lived. It almost went by in a blink of an eye. So for those of you who think, I don't even really remember much about that cast, it's just not something that sticks out in my memory, it's probably because the very first episode with the new cast was September 12th, and the season finale was on November 24th. So we had less than 3 months with this new cast, which honestly is really crazy. In Space would air February 6th in 1998. We had a very short amount of time to meet this new cast and have this sort of experience with them. To me, this is really the issue I see with people who say they like the original cast more than the new cast because it was so short. In my opinion, it's a very unfair assessment considering we didn't have enough time to really get into their characters. Of course, the only returning member is Justin, who is relatively new as a Ranger. I mean, he came in the Turbo movie. His dynamic with the first season cast was pretty odd. It was very much like parents, and it really felt like he wasn't really a part of the team, more like they were babysitting him.
I wish my dad could be here. Sweetie, well, maybe next year. I'm sure he's thinking about you, though.
Now, the second cast, you definitely saw a lot different dynamic with them. They found a way to still be sort of a mentor to him, but also be his friend first and foremost.
I don't know if I love it or if I hate it.
Me too. Oh, the song is stuck in my head too.
First season heavily focused on Justin in a lot of ways because Jason David Frank wanted to leave the show, and he was really the most interesting character in the season because everybody else we hadn't had for a long time. To season 1's credit, I have to say they did introduce some of the characters very early on. We met Carlos and Ashley in episode 14. So very soon we are starting to meet some of these characters, which is great. One of the unfair criticisms I hear a lot is that Carlos has no character development, that he's very bland, that he's very flat, and he has nothing really to contribute to the story. That is completely untrue in my eyes. If you really start off in episode 14 where he is introduced, he is the hotshot soccer player. He has an ego. He's not a team player. And it's because of Adam coaching him and showing him this is how to be a team player. You have to think of other people, which is really the ultimate thing that prepped him to become a Power Ranger and be ready to work with a team. It also shows that Carlos had a lot of character development because he wasn't perfect starting out, which is a very big departure from the original series. Episode 37, The Accident, is a really good example of Carlos's development. During practice that day, it seems like he might have accidentally hurt the other player, causing him not to be able to participate in the team anymore. He has to deal with peer pressure. Half of the team thinks that he did it on purpose. The other team thinks he didn't touch him. And it's really something that he has to battle with because he's getting attacked from all these different angles and he has to hold himself together as a person and be strong.
Here, Owen.
Thanks. Come to gloat?
I feel terrible about what happened. I was just trying to get the ball. I didn't mean to hurt you.
Well, you did. You made a legal move, you know?
Slide tackle's legal.
Not if you trip the other player.
I don't think my foot even touched you.
Then how did I end up with this?
Come on, Owen.
This episode is something we've never really experienced in Power Rangers before, which is teaching Carlos that in life, accidents are going to happen. There's nothing you can do about it. No matter what you do on the soccer field or as a Power Ranger, people are going to get hurt. Even if you try your hardest, sometimes you will fail, and sometimes that may be to the detriment of other people. But you have to keep working, you have to keep pushing, you have to keep doing what's right. And it shows you that the Rangers aren't perfect and that they aren't always going to win every battle. This is actually the same exact lesson that Adam comes back and helps Carlos get through, having accidents happen, accidentally hurting a teammate, and having to live with that. Carlos goes on to be a really great mentor and friend to Justin. There's an episode where they are walking past a park, and there's a bunch of kids playing soccer around Justin's age, and Carlos encourages him to go out and try it. Even though Justin is not really into sports, he's a brainiac, and it's really uncomfortable for him, Carlos really encourages him, and then Justin ends up loving it, making new friends, and then joining the soccer team later in the season. And you can see even in the final episodes that Carlos is really the person that Justin confides in, even over the leader, TJ.
Pretty soon, they'll all come back. Won't they?
You scared?
Are you?
Yeah, I am.
Me too.
So, Justin, your dad, he got that new job, right?
Yeah, he did. I've never seen him so happy, but he won't take it. Not if it means that I have to move and leave my friends.
You have a great dad.
Now, Ashley is probably the most perfect character of the group. She is a cheerleader. She's happy. She's bubbly. A fun fact is that the first episode that the actress Tracy Lynn Cruz was actually in was I'm Dreaming of a White Ranger. Now, if you've watched my video about that special, you'll know a little more about it, but she actually appeared in that. Personally, I think that Ashley is the attempt to get back to Kimberly. The idea of the sort of valley girl, happy, good looking, beautiful. And before people jump on this, I'm not saying that Nikita and Catherine are not beautiful. They are gorgeous, of course, but that's not really what describes their character. And not that that was the whole point of Kimberly, but it definitely became the narrative of her character that she's the cute one, she's the popular one. And that really has been lacking in the show at this point. And I don't say lacking as in I miss it. Probably something the production thought we need to have this like cute girl that all the guys are kind of into. Ashley at the beginning seems like a very perfect character. Nothing really is wrong with her. There is some character development in and actually some real tragedy to her character in the episode where she takes auto shop class.
Since you were brave enough to take auto shop, I got you a present.
Ha! A wrench. Just wish I knew how to use it.
I didn't know you were into cars.
Well, actually, I'm not. My dad's really great with cars, and he didn't think girls should work on them. I guess I just wanted to prove I could do it.
And it's a little bit of a sexist moment that she just wanted to prove him wrong. One of the many plot points that kind of got scrapped was that Carlos and Ashley seemed to have some definite chemistry, especially before they became Power Rangers.
I think they're gone for now, but you two better go home just in case they come back. Why don't I walk you home? Just to be on the safe side. By the way, my name's Carlos.
Ashley, hey, I saw the way you stayed and bought those crepes. I thought that was pretty cool.
You weren't so bad yourself.
You know, you didn't have to walk me home. I can take care of myself, too.
I know, I just needed some excuse to talk to you.
Carlos, hey, I saw what you did. That was pretty cool.
That's what teamwork's all about, right?
Hey, so, can you walk me home again? Just to be on the safe side.
I thought you could take care of yourself.
I can. I just needed some excuse to talk to you. All right.
Now, I think it hinted at it maybe a couple more times in the rest of the series, but Ashley definitely started being into other people throughout the show, and it just seemed like that kind of died out. And then, of course, by In Space, she was on to Andros. They never really addressed this. They never really show if Carlos was kind of upset about it or feeling like, well, geez, I thought you liked me. They never really addressed that. That was definitely something they were hinting at the very beginning. Cassie is definitely one of my favorite characters in Power Rangers of all time. She starts out, she's this punk rocker that we meet on the bus. in Passing the Torch Part 1. And she's a little rude. She's singing. She's not really caring what other people think. And you can see her personality difference from TJ pretty quickly, and the fact that she doesn't really want to go fight and help Catherine right away because she doesn't really want to get involved in things that aren't her problem. But when TJ leaves and she is sitting by the bus, she's trying to encourage the bus driver to stay for TJ.
Come on.
I'm sorry, miss. I got a schedule to keep. Now, you coming or not?
And you can see a little bit that she is a good person, but she is very sassy, and she just has this attitude that we haven't really seen in Power Rangers yet, especially from a female character. Tanya did have a lot of personality to her.
Lieutenant Stone taught you well. Keep the change.
But I think Cassie has a little bit more darker side to her than Tanya ever did.
Hello!
Cassie will say the truth, whether it's nice or not. She'll be brutally honest with people, and you can see that in the first episode that they are the official Rangers.
I made this in the 8th grade. I actually think it's kind of tacky.
Honestly, I kind of agree with you. People are probably saying they like it because they don't want to hurt your feelings. All right, 2 drinks, please.
Another criticism I see a lot of people talk about is that Ashley and Cassie are best friends from the start, even though they barely know each other. And this, again, is one of those things that people are completely wrong about. This is not at all how they portray these two characters at the beginning. And if anything, Cassie and Ashley really are conflicted in a lot of ways. There's an episode where both like the same guy, and they definitely are not being friendly. They're playing a little dirty towards each other. And we actually don't see them refer to each other as best friends until episode 42. In the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers series, when Aisha comes in and replaces Trini, we only get like 1 or 2 episodes after that, and Kimberly is referring to Aisha as her best friend of all time. Cassie's really into singing, which they kind of abandon when we get to In Space, but we do see in episode 36. We haven't had someone whose real personality is music. Tanya, of course, did have an episode where she was singing and had that happen, but that was really out of the blue. Being a singer is really part of Cassie's personality. Patricia Lee actually had a band and some songs that you can go listen to. I have a playlist on my YouTube channel. If you go to my playlist, there is one that is just Power Ranger music. These are all songs done by Power Rangers, people who acted on Power Rangers or were a part of Power Rangers in some way. So check that out if you're interested. TJ is a much needed return to the strong leader that we had in the original series with Jason. What's really great about TJ is I think that he brings that strong side of leadership from Jason, who really leads by example. And he also has the fun, bombastic sort of personality of Zach combined. He is overly nice to everybody. He doesn't react negatively when someone is mean to him or rude to him.
Hey, good job.
This is Heath. He just moved here. He's on our team.
Great. I'm TJ.
They say you're pretty good.
I try.
That's more than I can say for the rest of your sorry team. Let's see you try against me.
We'll see.
He really is such an incredible character, and he has so much charisma. And I really do believe that if it wasn't for TJ, I don't think that the series would have continued after this. If they had someone who just wasn't very electrifying like Selwyn Ward was, I think that they probably would have canceled Power Rangers and that would have been the end of it. But he is so likable. There are videos of Patricia Lee and Tracy Lynn Cruz just talking about how attractive he is and just how he really kind of grabs your attention with how great his smile is and all those things. Like I said, he's a combination of Zach and Jason, but he does kind of leave out the ego that sometimes Zach had, that sort of hotshot, hitting on Angela sort of thing. He doesn't have that part of his personality shown at all, if he has that at all. And you see his character really well even in the very first scene. You know, Cassie is being very standoffish. She's not really responding to much he's saying. And even though she kind of pushes him to the side, he extends a hand and introduces himself. And even when TJ notices that Cassie is annoying the rest of the people on the bus, and he brings this up to her, which is something I think I wouldn't do as just a human being. I'd be very nervous to do that. And he does it, and he says it in a very nice way. She says, sorry, I get carried away. And he just relates right back to her and says, yeah, I get carried away too sometimes. It's easy to do. He extends a hand to her, introduces himself. She returns it, and he asks where she's going. She says she's going to Stone Canyon. She's going to try to be a singer, and she has some family there who's going to help her out. And this is a quality in him that I really admire and I wish I was more like, because I talk way too much. She asks him, where are you going? And he says Angel Grove, and he just leaves it at that. Honestly, she's been a little standoffish. He doesn't want to overtalk. He just lets her be. She waits a little bit, and then she asks him why he's going. And he brings up the fact that he's a baseball player, and his dad thought that this might be the place to go to bring him a better career in baseball because of the coach that's there. We don't really get to see him play baseball until episode 39, but we finally get to see him play then. You quickly see TJ's character when he hears an explosion off in the distance, and he immediately says, I need to go help. You know, these new teens are really, really different from the original series. I mean, you have Carlos, who's got a bit of an ego deep down inside. You have Cassie, who can be a little sassy and honestly kind of rude sometimes. Justin, who's very young and inexperienced. And you have Ashley, is maybe a little dramatic at times. But TJ is really the one who keeps these people together. He's such an awesome leader, and it really kind of upsets me that he doesn't get to be the Red Ranger for very long. I mean, less than 3 months. And it really stinks because he was an incredible leader, and I think if he had a full season to be the leader, people would put him down as one of the greatest Red Rangers of all time. And we finally get some of our first real team moments where they're all huddled around at the juice bar, at a table, just doing homework or whatever. Now, the team, of course, is very different, but we see a very large shift for the villain as well. Divatox, the whole first half, until passing the torch, all she ever did was put a bomb in the town and send a monster down. That was it. This first episode, she decides to make these jackets that Ashley has, that she's doing an interior design class, and mass produce them and make them evil so that whenever someone puts them on, they become evil. That's way more than she ever did in the first half of the season. She does a bunch of other things like trying to freeze the sun. She turns the Rangers into animals, and these type of plots continue on throughout the season. And she eventually moves in episode 26 to the space base, which was built by her brother, who we meet, and he overtakes the Megazord. I think that the villains in this season do not get enough credit. They are honestly some of the funniest villains, if not the funniest, in Power Ranger history. The writing at this time is very sitcom-like. I don't know whether that's because the monsters in Beetleborgs, the mansion monsters, were really written as a sitcom, and it really was getting popular. They were even thinking about making a spin-off of just the monsters. And I think you can see in these examples that they do a lot of sitcom-like jokes in their dialogue.
Oh, this has been missing for eons.
What is it, your birth certificate? I got a better idea. Ta-da!
Quit fooling around, Elgar.
Get away from my laser. This thing isn't a game.
Give me a token, I'm all out.
Here.
Lisa Long, bring me the blue Centurion. The Wicked Wisher needs a boost. Fire the torpedo.
Yes, my queen. Firing torpedo.
Oh. No!
You know, we finally get other events like the first real team morph. I don't even think we had a full team morph in the first season besides maybe 1 or 2 times. Now, with the production side of things, of course, it's easier when you have only a few actors doing a scene. But where in season 1, it was because Jason David Frank didn't want to be there and they had to limit the amount they used him. They really do this in a very, very smart way. There's an episode where Cassie and TJ are walking around and they call the command center where Carlos, Ashley, and Justin are all there. TJ and Cassie run into a monster. They call their friends on their communicator and they morph. After they morph, the whole team appears. In the first half, we would have never even heard from Jason David Frank or seen a scene with him. But since we saw a very short clip with the rest of the team at the command center doing their part, it doesn't make us feel like, oh, those actors were out for the day. Now, some people criticize that they just get along too well because they just met each other, but I disagree with that. Like I said, Ashley and Cassie they're a little standoffish. They argue at times here and there throughout this and in space. They're not perfect friends. They do fight. TJ and Cassie definitely have a very brother-sister bond, which of course started because in Passing the Torch, they met on the bus, and they do have this relationship throughout the whole rest of the season. In episode 26, they're hiking together. They just are very connected, and it's really cool. And now that I've watched this again, I need to go back and watch it in space to see, do they continue that dynamic with them much, or if they just really kind of let that go. Now we get the return of Bulk and Skull. Finally, they're done being chimps. They're done being invisible. We have the actual actors, Jason Narvey and Paul Schreier, back in the saddle again, doing what they do best, being funny. And this time, we're not detectives. We're not joining the junior police squad. We are trying to find a job because, hey, these guys are graduating from school and they need money. They don't have any money. They're, jobless. Honestly, a great idea for production to do to keep them involved in the storyline. But again, another criticism of Turbo is that these new Rangers come in and they just know Bulk and Skull. Once again, that is not true at all. The first episodes they're in physically, 21, 22, 23, they don't interact with the Power Rangers at all. They're only seen from a distance talking to Lieutenant Stone or just being at the juice bar. In episode 24, they do eventually somewhat interact, but they don't even act like they know them.
It's not my birthday.
We lost the cards.
You gotta help us out. That guy over there, he's our boss. If we don't look good, this job is history.
Okay, go ahead. Look good.
But they don't call them by name as if they know them. They're just being hired to do this job. In episode 26, Bulk and Skull are tour guides, and Carlos comes up and talks to them. But they don't talk to Carlos like, hey, Carlos, how's it going? It's just this random person from the tour that comes up and talks to them, and that's it. In episode 27, they do interact with TJ. He's helping them put on this gear, but it really just looks like TJ was at the juice bar. They were talking to Lieutenant Stone, and he just volunteered to help them. In episode 28, they're walking through the juice bar. They look at the Rangers and they ask them if they could dress up as Rangers for the tour.
All you have to do is just run by. Pretty simple, huh? But Ashley here would like to be a Power Ranger.
Excuse me?
You see, the tourists, they want to see a real Ranger. So we're trying to find recruits to wear our identical Ranger costumes.
And they aren't really talking to her like they're best friends. They just now know her name because they've known her, seen her enough over time at the juice bar. In episode 36, they audition for Cassie's band, and they know her name because her name is on the flyer.
Cassie, we hear you're a little short on band members. We've got a sound that'll blow you away.
Episode 40, they see Carlos get bit and turn into a vampire. And this is the first episode where they actually are really involved with the storyline with the Power Rangers. But even when they talk to Justin in the episode, they just call him Kid, which arguably Justin is probably the one they should know the most because they've seen him the longest. Episode 43 is really the first major interaction I would say they had. They're delivery guys and all their packages are getting stolen. And TJ just says, these guys are not villains. They're not going to steal stuff. So I'm going to help them figure out who this person is who's stealing from them. And this is where they really kind of become friends with TJ and have a bond with him at this point. In episode 43, this whole criticism I see online all the time from people, it's just not true. They don't interact with the Rangers as if they're friends. It's completely fabricated because the writers really did a great job introducing them to the Rangers over this whole season. Finally get our sixth Ranger officially. The Blue Centurion, you could kind of consider him a sixth Ranger, but the Phantom Ranger is our official Ranger who has powers like apparently he can travel through time because when everybody else is frozen, he's able to move. Now this really brings up in my mind, one of the most tragic stories in Power Rangers, which just gets overlooked because of the Jen and Wes love story. Cassie definitely has feelings for the Phantom Ranger, and it's really sad because there's no chance of her ever getting to be with him. She doesn't even know his identity, and this continues in the In Space episodes as well when he's there. It's just sad, man. It's just really sad. Cassie's such a great character, and she's in love with someone that she'll never be with, and it just gets overshadowed. The first season, we really didn't have a lot of great new toys or new weapons or Zords or anything. And this season, we get Lightning Cruiser and Storm Blaster. We get the Turbine Cannon, the Turbo Carts. Those things are so awesome. Of course, we have the Phantom Ranger. We have the new Megazords. Quickly to say, Dimetria is obviously in this, and at no point in the second half at all does she ever say anything as a question.
Let's go.
That was too easy, TJ. Beware of the trap.
The first half, the whole point is that she's from Inquirius, and they only speak in questions. She never once speaks in a question except for like literally asking them a question for her own sake. Power Rangers Turbo famously had a storyline that they completely forgot about or decided not to go with, which was Divatox and Dimetria being sisters. Twin sisters, in fact. Now, of course, that storyline just kind of got abandoned. They really hinted at the first half of the season with the original cast, and then after that, I think they just kind of forgot about it. But I recently discovered a small documentary that was made by Shout Factory, which was the company that made the original Power Rangers DVDs. In it, they're interviewing the actress who played Divatox. I think you should just watch it and see.
Order my minions around and get the Power Rangers. Of course, my arch enemy. And I also had the privilege of playing my sister, who was called Dimetria, who was there to help the Power Rangers.
Do you think that makes it canon? To me, I kind of feel like it does. I mean, she knew 100% they were supposed to be sisters. It was in the script for her somewhere in the descriptions. What do you guys think? Now, at the end of the season, it is pretty tragic. We lose both Megazords in one episode. The command center gets destroyed, and Justin makes the decision that he needs to stay behind and be with his dad. Now, there was a post from Blake Foster I saw that he talked about what it was like that he didn't get to move on with the show, and he said that on one hand, he knew that he was only contracted for 52 episodes. He also knew that he was going to come back for the next season for an episode, which means that he only was in 46 episodes. It still means he has 6 episodes on his contract for Power Rangers. So, man, 30th anniversary. You got 6 more episodes with this guy. Come on. What's going on here? Cosmic Fury. 6 more episodes with Blake Foster. Let's go. It's in his contract. And they should bring him back because in the end of his post, he says, "If you ever need me, I'm always here," which is a reference to his True Blue to the Rescue episode in Space. The thing about Justin is that, yeah, he gets ragged on a lot. And of course, a lot of people rag on Justin for being a kid and they just didn't like the dynamic. But I will say, by the end of this season, it seems like he really found a good dynamic with the second cast.
Come on. Let's go, Justin. Justin, we're missing someone.
He can't go with you. There's reasons.
Justin's not going with us?
Reasons? What reasons?
It's his dad. Justin wants to stay with his dad.
Justin, tell him he has very good reasons, and that we'll miss him.
He already knows. Good luck, Rangers.
People criticize the Turbo team that they lost to Divatox and, oh, the original Rangers would have never done that. Now, I have to say, it is ridiculous because they lost both Megazords at the same time. The Blue Centurion and Dimetria just leave because Zordon's been captured and they just take off right there. And these brand new Rangers who have only been Rangers for 3 months are now stranded all on their own. And immediately after they leave, Divatox sends her whole entire army to destroy the command center. They also don't have anyone like Billy around who just has a bunch of brains that can make some amazing invention to help them. They have nothing. They are stranded. It's ridiculous. So of course they got beat. I mean, they had nothing to aid them. Compared to season 1, I really think that they brought back so many things that makes Power Rangers Power Rangers. The team just being together. Season 1, they were never around each other. They were all scattered. Episodes were about one individual person most of the time. And now we have the elements of them sitting at the juice bar together, hanging out, going to the beach together, doing things as a group, training together, all these types of things. And it really is what makes Power Rangers Power Rangers. And the fact that we only had it for 3 months means that a lot of people are going to say that it sucked or they don't even remember it. It wasn't that memorable. Well, yeah, it was really quick. We didn't get a chance for it to live on for a whole year, get to be embedded in our brains like we did, the first time. Not to mention Beetleborgs was so popular at the time, it was kind of being overshadowed at that point. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe. Get on the comments. Tell me what you think of this season because I really do love the second half of Turbo. I think that it's wildly underrated. I think that people bash on it way too often. The first half honestly was bad, and people give a lot of leeway to that because it was the original cast. But original cast aside, it just wasn't a great season, and the second half was really outstanding. It was just way too quick. If you haven't watched my In Space breakdown, I'm going to link that here. In Space is what ultimately saved this franchise to turn it into the 30-year franchise that it is today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good one. Bye. But the one true consistency of Season 1 of Turbo to Season 2 of Turbo is this. Alpha is still...
Ashley, come in! Come in!
What is it, Alpha?
Yo, Ashley, what's wrong? Are you crying?